Hey, this is News on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Buy some silver, some platinum, and some crystallized osmium. And be kind, helpful, and grateful. I'm going to skip through most of this bull crap because he's talking about how to find gold in the desert.
Free cookie for life. Finally, a meal service that
And
works
I'm
for
gonna
men.
get through this
Cook Unity
commercial.
sends you delicious.
And
There's
basically,
some type of different structure here, and I need to examine it if that is what the USGS report said that the gold is traveling in. So that's what I want you to do. If you are out in a gold producing district and you're walking across the ground and you see color changes in the soil, and you've read that the gold is traveling in a host rock or a quartz vein structure that is that color, you need to dig into it and do what's called a soil sample. Collect up some material, screen it through a 20 mesh screen, and then pan that out with a little jet dry in the water, see if there's gold in it. Because chances are there could be high values down below if this is the right type of structure you're looking for. So be aware of changes in the soil color when you're out looking for gold. Look here, you see this? More diabase dikes in the area. Now what's interesting about this is that all the diabase is laying on its side. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you several things. It tells you that when this particular diabase dike forced its way up through the surface, that it was a vertical dike. And because of faulting and folding, you can get a lot of these structures to lay on their side. Now, I know you're saying, now, Jeff, wait a minute. How do you know it didn't come up at a 45-degree angle? I'm going to show you how I know that. I want you to look at the contact zones, and if wherever the contact zone is here, if it's been burned, that means that it's a sill, that it came up on its side. There's more of that diabase dike, and this would be the chill margins here. But it's not a sill, it's a dike, because if it was a sill, this chill margin would be dark from this being cooked by that laying on top of it while it cooled. Because you'll be able to see where the rock has actually been heated up and changed color and structure. If you don't see that, that means it was a dike. If you do see it, that means it's a sill. Now, I know it can be confusing when you see the tops of these, but you can have folding that creates anticlines or synclines. So you could be at the top or the bottom of a fold, and the rest of it has already been removed. And so in your mind, you're like, no, this just looks like it was uplifted and eroded. No, it could be part of an anticline or a syncline. Now, I know you're saying, Jeff, this is all well and good, but what difference does all that make? It's very important because you can have a lot of gold deposits that come up against basalt and diabase dikes like you have up in Liberty, Washington.
you skipped the good
That's
stuff.
cool. Yeah. In the infamous words of Macho Man Randy Savage, oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Enough shenanigans, Jeff. Get out there and get that gold, start sampling, find your wife. Man, you guys are a tough crowd, but this is so cool. You never know what you're going to find in these old caves. Look at that. See what I mean?
StatSig product analytics exists in the analytics portion of StatSig and is divided into two major services.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Check it out. It's the M cave. See all the hematite in this thing? Oh, now I have an idea where the gold would be coming from. Ooh, I got another one. See that? Nice. And another little pocket cave. I don't think there's anything in there. If it would, it'd be in that little hole over there. Check it out, Bubba. Check it out. No, I don't think there's anything in here. If there was, it'd be down in there. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, I got a cave.
Anyhow, he's talking about finding gold in the desert.
Now, my wife said she was around here somewhere, so.
I was hoping to get straight to it.
Out of this. Yeah, I have a picket fence and a dog and 2.1 children. So, yeah, that's the American dream. Oh, you got my stuff. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, she brought my classifier, my gold pan. Good. That sun will cook your noodle, huh, sweetie?
Oh, it's so hot.
Yeah, people are like, oh, Jeff, it's so hot. How come you're not sweating? All right, come out here in the desert. 1:15 by the time you start to sweat.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am sweating. See my hat ring? It's sweat. So I am sweating, but it doesn't get very far before it evaporates because it's so dry out here.
He gets right in his mouth.
But if you don't believe me, come on out here. I'll take you on a tour myself. Yeah, sweetie. All right, so here's what this video, and if we find anything, we're going to give it all away. Don't forget, at the end of this month, right, we're giving away not only 10 bags of incredibly rich pay dirt from our drift mine, which you guys already know about, but we're also giving away a Gold Monster 1000 metal detector and 10 silver bars. And this month only, we're giving away a 20-pound, you heard me right, 20-pound. Hi, sweetie.
Yes.
So if you want to get involved with that, all you got to do is look for the little icon at the end of the video.
Anyhow,
Time.
Yeah, so smash that like button.
Smash a car.
Yeah!
that's the gold that he got in the desert. Anyhow, he got that gold from the desert, doing some cool dry desert waterfall hunting, meaning that decades, eons ago, there was water there, obviously, because you go in like the Sahara Desert, it's got whale bones in it. At one point in time, all the deserts had water in them, and he was tracing down, showing you how to trace down old waterfalls from like thousands of years ago. That's what that was about, but it was a cheapie. So let's go with, oh, here we go. This is kick-ass. I love this one. It's a little 1.5 minute video. I love lightning. Lightning is cool. And that ball right there is lightning.
What is it? It's going for a long time.
A ball of light hovers over a field,
It's like a fireball, but not really. It's the wrong color.
and this couple from Rich Valley, Alberta, was mesmerized.
After a rather vicious lightning strike, we saw the ball of fire kind of retain, 20 feet above the ground.
The cell phone video was captured an hour northwest of Edmonton by Ed and Melinda Party. It shows the ball of light for about 20 seconds before it disintegrates. They were under a tornado watch and experiencing a thunderstorm Wednesday
You
evening
see at the
when they
end
saw
of it?
this about a kilometer away from their home.
Yeah, it's moving horizontally above the ground. Incredibly bright, too.
Let's go back to here. I'll show
Experiencing
you.
a thunderstorm Wednesday evening when they saw this about a kilometer away from their home.
Yeah, it's moving horizontally above the ground. Incredibly bright,
It
too.
was very bright.
It was really bright.
Off in the distance, I see something glowing there.
Hold on.
Shows the ball of light for about 20 seconds before it disintegrates. They were under a tornado watch
Ah, shit. I missed it. Sorry, guys.
and experiencing a thunderstorm Wednesday evening when they saw this about a kilometer away from their home.
Yeah, it's moving horizontally above the ground. Incredibly bright,
It
too.
was very bright.
It was really bright.
Off in the distance, I see something glowing there.
But what exactly is it? According to one scientist, it could. They were under a tornado watch.
There we go. Right there.
Watch and experience. They were under a tornado
You see how it ended?
before it disintegrates. They were under a tornado
You see how it ended? It looked like a little spark ending
under a tornado
right there. Damn, I can't catch it.
disintegrates.
That's how you
They
can
were
tell
under
it's
a
lightning.
tornado
You see how it like dissipated? It didn't go away like a UFO, in other words.
be ball lightning or
That's how you
a
can
form
tell
of
it's
it.
ball lightning.
Sometimes you can
What's
get
up, Mo
that
Silver?
plasma itself or region of
Damn,
plasma
94.
to
It's only
just
76
linger
out
for a
here.
little while. And sometimes that plasma itself, if it's in a ball shape, they call it ball lightning.
It's a rare phenomenon that can be produced from intense lightning. But why it's caused is still something scientists are trying to determine.
What are the right conditions to actually make this phenomenon happen? We don't know because, again, it's such a really rare event and it's not very well understood.
Florian believes that although this weather event is
And now you see why I'm so excited about my lightning project that I'm going to do, because there's absolutely zero science that can be done on it because we can't control a lightning strike. And I have an idea of how to do that. And that's why I'm real excited about my lightning project, because there's going to be so much. If I'm successful, there'll be a lot of science can be learned off of it.
rare, we could see more of it.
The more and more
What's
severe
up,
storms
Hager?
that we're getting across the prairies, there might be greater chances of other people witnessing these phenomena as well.
The parties say they're lucky to experience an extraordinary event not many people have.
I was glad it was far away from our house, though, because I don't think I'd want to get near that because that's a lot of power in there.
Cabby Maitharan, Global News.
And that right there is pure 100% positive, negative ion that's getting fed if they had a high-speed camera here at the bottom where my cursor is, at the horizon of the land before you get to the lightning bubble, if they had like a 6,000 frame per second camera, you'd probably see lots of blue positive ions being fed up to that. And the reason why it walks back and forth is because that's the ion pathways. And to understand that, you got to understand how ions travel. And if you understand like a lightning strike, you see lightning in the air, it doesn't go in a straight line. The reason why it doesn't go in a straight line is because it's so negatively charged. As it's moving forward in the air, it positively charges the ions in the air ahead of the ion lightning strike, and it'll positively charge the ions in the air in front of it, and it'll cause a magnetic field forcing the lightning or the ions, the leader is what they call them, to go around. That's why lightning always curves like that. And so when it gets to the ground, there's something in the ground that comes up. It's a positive lead. It's a blue streak you can see on like a 5,000 to 6,000 frame per second camera. And what's probably happening there is the Earth has several magnetic anomalies that are allowing the positive ions to shoot up in a succession that'll allow that negative ions from the clouds to roll along until they expend all of their energy. That's what I believe is happening, but we got to do science on it to figure that out. I'm gonna get you another video here. Here's a little freaking health, not advice at all, just a little health knowledge.
Think salt is just something you sprinkle on food. But what if I told you that this one mineral, when mixed with water and used the right way, can kill dangerous mouth bacteria, speed up your tissue healing, prevent cavities, reduce gum inflammation, and even support your immune system? I've used this trick for years, but recently I had to lean more on it because I had some dental procedures done where part of the bone in my mouth was exposed a little bit from the gum. And I had to be extremely careful. No toothpaste, no alcohol, no mouthwashes, no risk of infection. And my best defense, salt water.
What's up, Jeffro?
Simple, natural, and shockingly effective. But why does it work so well? Let's go deep. Salt or sodium chloride creates what we call a hypertonic solution, meaning it has a higher concentration of solutes than the cells around it. When harmful bacteria come into contact with this solution, osmosis kicks in. Water rushes out of the bacteria to balance that concentration. And the cells literally start to shrink, and yes, they rupture. It's like popping a balloon with a pin. That's how salt water kills germs, not with chemicals, but with physics. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Salt water doesn't just clean, it helps heal. And when you rinse with warm salt water, you increase local circulation in the gums, almost like bringing in reinforcements to a battle. It draws out excessive fluid from swollen tissue as it reduces inflammation and brings fresh oxygen and nutrients through the blood. And this promotes angiogenesis. This is powerful. This is the formation of new blood vessels, which are critical for tissue repair. I want you to think of it like watering dry, cracked soil so new roots can grow. And your saliva, it's not just moisture, it's loaded with powerful immune factors like IgA antibodies, lactoferrin and lysozyme, all which help defend your gums and tongue from those invaders. You see, salt water stimulates saliva production, which amplifies your body's natural defenses. This isn't just a rinse, it's a reactivation of your own healing system. And let's break another myth. Most people think that bad breath comes from poor brushing. But 90% of chronic bad breath starts with bacteria in the tongue and back in the throat. These microbes break down proteins and release this volatile sulfur compounds, the same stuff that smells like rotten eggs. Salt water neutralizes these compounds by reducing the bacterial load in itself. It doesn't mask the odor. It stops it at its source. And here's a practical tip that you'll really love.
What's up, Hunter?
If you're ever without a toothbrush or toothpaste, you may have gone on a flight, flying somewhere, camping, or just forgot it. Just gargle with warm salt water. It's your oral first aid kit in a glass. Even one rinse can rebalance your mouth's pH, slow down that acid attack, and freshens your breath, all without a trip to the store. So now what kind of salt should I use? Honestly, any clean salt will work because the key ingredient is sodium chloride. You can use regular table salt, sea salt, pink Himalayan salt.
I use pink Himalayan salt.
Just avoid any salt that has added flavorings, colors, or chemical additives. That means no seasoned salt or garlic salt. If you have a natural sea salt or a Himalayan salt, that's ideal because they're less processed and may contain beneficial trace minerals as well. But again, whatever salt you have at home, that will definitely help you get the job done as long as it's pure and clean. And here's something even dentists really ever talk about. It's called systemic inflammation, and it often starts in our mouth. Chronic gingivitis or bacterial overload can leak into the bloodstream, contributing to heart disease, insulin resistance, and even cognitive decline. But regular saltwater rinses can help keep that bacterial colonies in check before they spark systemic issues. I like to think of the mouth as the front door to your entire immune system. If you leave it open and dirty, don't be surprised when invaders walk in. Salt waters help keep that door clean, protected, and reinforced. And you don't need anything fancy, just 1/2 teaspoon of your preferred clean salt to a cup of warm water. Switch it around in your mouth for approximately 20, 30 seconds. Gargle if you need to. If it's something's in your throat, then spit it out. Do it once a day for maintenance or 2 to 3 times a day if you're recovering from an oral procedure like I was. It's safe, it's natural, and it costs less than a penny per use.
Anyhow, you get the point. Little health information. It's not health advice. It's health information. Let's see. What do you guys want to watch? You want to watch something about this outer space or something about, well, something that's going to, we'll do something that's going to crush the Chinese economy. We will crush the Chinese economy. That's what this is about. Obviously, this is what's going on with shipping with Sal Micagliano. And what it is it's this training to discuss, Madsen's decision to suspend shipments of electric vehicles. That's going to crush China and their electric car. What's up, Mike? That's going to crush China and their car industry, because if they can't ship their electric vehicles by boat around the world, they're bankrupt. Their country's dead, because that's a big moneymaker for them. It's they got the number 1 electric car company maker in the world, and this insurer or boat company. I'm not sure. I haven't seen this video, but I know that if they cancel insurance or if the boat carriers refuse to carry electric cars on their boats, because if they catch on fire, they lose their boat. That means no electric cars are being shipped out of China. So let's go ahead and see what these guys have to say.
Firefighting experience.
By the this bald guy is a firefighter and something else. He's experienced with car fires, and this is Sal Micagliano, Micagliano. My bad.
And so it's a great one for both of us. So let's talk a little bit about this. We've had a decision by Matson Shipping to no longer haul electrical vehicles. That's prompting this story today. But before we jump into that, let's take a kind of step back, and I really want to get your expertise on this. Now, why do EVs, electrical vehicles, pose such a unique risk, especially for firefighters and firefighting?
The biggest difficulty is the batteries themselves, because they're under the vehicle, because there's so much energy stored under that vehicle.
Hey,
and the batteries, when they get angry, when they go into thermal runaway, there's just really no stopping it. And it releases a lot of energy in a very short amount of time.
I think it's the energy aspect about it. I think you're exactly right about that. It's also it also creates other unique problems with gases that are emitting from it. They're self-sustaining. I mean, we have a lot of issues where, and that comes to the fire extinguishing aspect by it. I've been to a few electrical vehicle fires, and they are remarkably different than an internal combustion engine fire. How would you qualify like the big difference between those two styles of firefighting when you have to deal with an internal combustion engine, an ICE, versus an electrical vehicle, an EV?
Internal combustion engine fires are pretty easy. They're, I would say, bread and butter. We firefighters enjoy going to a vehicle fire just because you get some action and it's over very quickly. Not a lot of effort goes into it. From the time you leave the firehouse to the time you get back to the firehouse, you're talking maybe 30 minutes, 500 gallons of water. On the flip side, an electric vehicle, they're just really stubborn, because when those batteries go into thermal runaway, again, you can't really get to them. They're releasing a lot of hazardous gas, explosive gases as well. And that is really relevant when you start talking about shipboard firefighting, because you're building up a very explosive rich, flammable rich atmosphere. But the fire is just, it's really stubborn. The heat release rate is different. So it's releasing a lot of heat early on in the incident, and it can cause that fire to jump from vehicle to vehicle. Again, going back to the ship side of things, if things are really close. So
it's cool.
An accident of some kind. The problem we have is on that shipboard firefighting side, because the shipboard firefighting side is when we're transporting vehicles on ships. There is no what we call broken stowage space. There's no space between the vehicles. I always tell everybody, imagine a parking deck, and that's like the interior of a car carrier, except that you're not just parking in the spots that are designated. You're parking in every area from the top down. You're bumper to bumper with vehicles. Plus, it's like an underground parking deck because there's no air. I mean, there's no space. There's no nothing. And when you have a fire in a very contained space, especially on board ship, what you start to get is that gas buildup, the smoke buildup happens very quickly. You lose your visibility. And so
that is a very good question, Hager. I believe it's twofold. I believe it's strategic and based on our trade and our policies that are going on with China right now. And with all come on, they opened a bioweapons lab here in California, obviously to do a bioweapons war attack on America. And they've done so many other things. This is just striking back at them. And I think personally, and this is only my personal thoughts, a lot of if the companies are in an area where we can control them, if they do more business with us than the other guy, we can do this. And it would be easy for them to go along with it. Because again, as they're talking about, look at those cars in the background. If you have like 50 of them that are electric vehicles and the other 3,500 aren't electric vehicles, if one of those electric vehicles goes on fire, you just lost the whole damn ship. It's a high risk for insurance. So I could see where the insurance and policymakers on the insurance company would say, hey, there's no way okay, we'll insure you to ship these electric cars if you pay us 10 times the amount of the worth of the car, because you're gonna have to pay us to insure the whole vehicle, the whole boat and all the other vehicles, because if one of your cars catches on fire, we lose all 4,000 of them. So you're gonna have to pay the liability insurance for all 4,000 cars. So that that would be the other option, and that is obviously really not an option, because that would make an electric car like $500,000. So they'd never sell. So other than going in that route, they just say, hey, to protect our ships from sinking to the bottom of the ocean while your cars burn on them, we're not shipping your cars. And there might be a clause in there where they say, until you come up with a firefighting procedure that'll put an electric car fire out in a couple of seconds and not damage other cars when they're that close together. Until that point in time, the liability on the shipping company is way too high for them to be able to successfully make money if there's just one car fire, electric car fire. But now, also having said that, 2 days ago, I did a video on the aluminum ion battery, which doesn't have the problems of these electric cars have with the electric ion battery. So this policy might change once all the batteries change over to an aluminum ion, because you won't have the volatile, explosive damage from the vehicle and the gases and uncontrolled flames and whatnot, the uncontrolled burning with the aluminum ion. But with lithium ion, you do.
Becomes a problem. So what problems then does an EV, and we should note that it doesn't matter if
Take
the
some
EV
water
is the
with you,
cause of the
Gerald.
fire or not, because once you have a vehicle fire on board a ship, it's going to spread from vehicle to vehicle. And if you involve an EV in that fire, whether it's the cause for it or it's a secondary ignition, the problem you start to have then is the extinguishment of it. So what would you discuss about the difficulty in extinguishing car fires on board ships? Again, EV or even ice cars.
Well, it really goes back to the systems they use. So my understanding is CO2 is the primary system. You have a method of sealing up that deck, and then you just dump CO2 into the atmosphere, essentially inerting the atmosphere. And that works really well for materials that need oxygen to burn. You get rid of that part of the fire triangle, and that can stop that fire. But for an electric vehicle, we don't need oxygen to burn because the batteries themselves bring their own oxygen. It's a self-oxidizing chemical reaction, and it's a very hot self-oxidizing chemical reaction. So when that's happening, if you try to inert that atmosphere, it's not really going to stop that fire spread. Sure, it's gonna slow things down. It's not going to allow the plastics, the rubbers, the foams to burn, but that heat is still being released, and it's still really heating up the vehicles next to it. And there's only so much CO2 available to flood that deck. Earlier you mentioned with an EV, you can dump a ton of water, an ocean's worth of water on it, and it's not going to go out. We've had situations down in Hollywood, Florida, for example, a couple of years ago, a Tesla Model X backed into the water. It was trying to launch a jet ski, and it ended up burning underwater for a few hours. And that's just something that you see with electric vehicles because they can burn underwater, that the batteries themselves can burn underwater. So that presents a big challenge. The other side is, people think that you could easily have a crew and get a hose down there and drag it through to the vehicle that's on fire.
Congress just voted to end the 30% federal tax credit for.
But that's a extremely dangerous task because of the way those vehicles are parked so closely together, the lack of visibility, but also it's really not practical because of the number of people on that ship, the number of crew available to fight that fire. So there's a lot of challenges. The other thing that I always find interesting that people
100% Jethro, that would be the most ideal thing, or better yet, make the car and just put the battery in the car, made in America. They could get over a lot of problems that way too.
We'll always want to recommend is ejecting the vehicle into the water. And if you've ever seen the way these are parked and the way, you just described how everything's parked in there, it's almost impossible to get access to the vehicle, let alone get it off of the ship.
Yeah, I mean, we have examples of that too. I mean, in horrific examples of this.
And all these are reasons why that shipping company is no longer shipping electric vehicles. There's absolutely no physical way to put out an electric car fire. And as the report Sal Macagliano did that I covered about a month ago, there is actually a 1,000-foot long shipping container at the bottom of the Pacific still on fire from 15 electric cars that caught on fire. And the 3,500 combustion engine cars are sitting right beside them because the people evacuated the ship as soon as the electric car caught on fire because they knew it looked like it took it like a day and a half to sink. And that's how soon they got off of it because they knew it was lost cause. So if you have that kind of advanced warning and knowing, why would you bother shipping that material? So this company, Matson's decision to not ship electric cars is a good one for their company and a bad one for China.
I mean, we just had the fire on board a morning Midas
up,
out in the Pacific, where we saw that they had a fire. It was involving EVs.
Yeah, I was just talking about that, Snooks. Yeah, it's still on fire, and that's why. And it's probably, I don't know whose ship it was, but it was probably a Madsen ship. I wouldn't be surprised.
We don't know if it was cause of it, but we know on the deck that initiated it, we know there were EVs on board that deck. And so it created a initial problem for them. They eventually had to actually abandon the vessel and get off because they could not fight that fire. And eventually the vessel was lost. we had a fire down in New Jersey, and that was not involved EVs. This was used cars on the Grand Costa d'Avorio, where 2 Newark firefighters got on board the ship, actually got themselves tangled up in the cars on the car deck, and unfortunately ran out of air and died. And so it is not an area you can go in. I would tell you that even just walking with lights on a car deck on a car carrier is dangerous. I mean, you're going to trip. It's almost impossible to get through, let alone when we're decked out in our gear with hoses and all the equipment we have. And as you said, these ships are running with 22 people on board. And so you have minimal crews on board to fight fires. They're not really paid firefighters, professional firefighters. They go through training, but I mean, they don't do it on a common basis. So outfitting themselves, going on board is a problem. We had an interesting fire recently over in Zeebrugge, which I thought was a really interesting one. This is the motor vessel Delphine. They had a fire on board. Now, they were in port, which helps. Obviously, it helps a lot. They were able to seal the deck. They brought in tugs from the area to provide the cooling on the outside of the hull. One of the big problems you have on a shipboard car fire is you're going to get that radiant heat through the decks. And so it's going to heat up the deck above and below. But they were able to use carbon dioxide to flood the decks and actually bring in nitrogen and actually keep the atmosphere cold and
you take care, Jeff.
Until the fire crews could get on board and provide a pretty good overhaul of the area. That brings us to what I wanted to talk about really with you today is the decision by Matson now to basically announce that they are not going to be hauling electrical vehicles on board. So we have this announcement out from Matson talking about the idea that, listen, due to increased concern for the safety of transporting vehicles with large lithium-ion batteries, Matson is suspending acceptance of both used or new electrical vehicles and plug-in hybrids for transport aboard its vessels. And that is effective immediately. And Matson is kind of unique because it provides almost an exclusive service connecting the United States West Coast to Hawaii. So let's talk a little bit first about what do you think about Matson's decision about not
What do you think it's going to do to, since they work majorly in the Pacific, bringing stuff to America, what do you think it's going to do to the Chinese electric car industry?
Transporting the EVs on board.
Yeah, I think when you look at the risk, we'll start with new vehicles. I would say with a new vehicle, there's very little risk of that vehicle catching on fire while on transport. The risk isn't zero. There is some risk there, but I'd say the risk is very low. So the decision around that does surprise me a little bit. But when you look at some of the incidents that we just talked about,
and that's why I added that it's probably geopolitical also. When someone asked why you think they made this decision, I stated that it could very well be a geopolitical strike back at China's economy. And with this firefighter here saying it's kind of odd decision that they made, leads me to believe it might be a combination of geopolitical and insurance-based reasons why they made the decision not to carry EV or plug-in hybrid cars.
You just talked about, those were new vehicles. But then when you look at the used vehicle market, there is a lot more risk there because you don't know the history of that vehicle. We've seen vehicles, for example, electric vehicles with flood damage that they've tried to ship. The Port of Miami, they had them in a shipping container and that shipping container exploded because the EV failed. It off-gassed, it built up that atmosphere and then deflagrated, blowing the shipping container apart. So I think when you start talking about used vehicles, you start talking about vehicles that have had recalls on them, or they have any type of damage. I think that makes sense. And I could see a lot larger concern when you start talking about that market.
Yeah. And Matson's in a very unique market on the shipping side. They're what we call a Jones Act carrier. So they can only use American-built vessels in the trade connecting the West Coast to Hawaii, and a fire on board any of their vessels would be cataclysmic. I mean, they would lose their vessel. It would take them a long time to replace the vessel. And it would cause a major disruption between the West Coast and Hawaii, and that they actually have a connection out to Guam. Two, a lot of these are military people who are deploying over there, so their cars are involved here. So it is going to create a bit of a disruption because there's really no...
What are calls and...
Anyhow, enough of that crap. Let's see what else I got for y'all people today. Let's see. Nah, that's it. I have something else, but it's about space, and you guys are probably bored with space stuff. I seem to be the only one excited about space stuff around here. It's about Voyager hitting a 50,000 centigrade wall of hot plasma outside the heliosphere, which no one anticipated being there. Learning new stuff about our galaxy, our universe, shit like that. So you guys watched my neighbor Stoner podcast? he wanted to do it here because I had the best backdrop in the neighborhood. It's not a green screen. Oh, it's humorous. He edited it and all this other stuff. He's the other guy in the video. He's the one who's the band guy. He's a musician. I built the sound studio for him. He's contracted with like Sony and a couple other record companies. He's supposed to turn out like 5 records. He's working on his 4th one. He's already turned out 3 this series. I guess in the new music scene, he's popular. I've never heard of him, but whatever. Yeah, he son of a bitch left the cameras rolling when he said he wouldn't. That's all I can say. But it is what it is. I didn't make too much of an ass of myself. As usual, I was just being me. And that's all you can be when you're, if you're unless you want to be fake. And if you want to be fake, well, that's on you. Too much energy to be fake. I don't like wasting energy. I'm too lazy. So, anything else you guys want to talk about? I threw some interesting stuff up there. I actually like and I use the water. Can you see that? No, you can't see that. So water and Epsom salt gargle, mouth rinse. Himalayan salt and water. I use that trick a lot. Also, the Epsom salt and baking soda in your bath water. It's a good one. It's good for your health. That's why I have allergies. I don't really get sick unless there's a COVID type situation going on where they want you to get sick. Then I'll get sick, but it won't last long. But I'll still get sick. But bar that, I'm pretty healthy. But then again, who is ever prepared for the government attacking you with bioweapons? You know what I'm saying? It's not something we prepare for normally. Do now. That's the preparation for that crap. I can't say what it is or show it because they'll give me a strike and take me off. No, deplorable. What it is the immune system of the human body. As you're younger, things that you and I are immune to because we've been around a while, they're not. And it hits them. And as in anything, once it enters a host, it manipulates into something new, and then they sneeze or touch and get their stuff out, and the germs and stuff that we already grew immune to have manipulated in their new younger bodies and formed a little bit differently than they did in our bodies, and then it reinfects us. But we should get over it quicker because we have a base immune system build up that their systems are working to build up. Now when it comes to only get sick when the kids go back to school. I think they get it shit in the vents. The vents thing, that's a hospital. Hospital, man, the venting system of a hospital, you have a lot of sick people, right? They all in a big fucking box. How many stories? Doesn't matter. It's a big box. Their windows don't open. They all sneezing and coughing. Think about it. Tom Larson, that's why I encouraged someone the other day to have their grandkid make them a mud pie. Because not only kids will make the mud pie, they'll start eating it. And then other kids will make fun of them and they'll quit eating it. But in the eating of it, they will build up their immune system more so than the kids making fun of them. So there's irony to life. Yeah, exactly. Deplorable. You're online with it. You know what's going on. And that's why you actually, I mean, in the 50s, they used to have what was chicken pox parties. They're like, everyone in the town is going to get it eventually. So let's all get it together right now and get it over with. One mom, from my understanding, from what I heard from like grandparents, you know, one mom's kid would have it. She'd call up everybody and say, hey, my boy, my girl's got chicken pox. Let's have a party. Give them all chicken pox. And back then, instead of it looked at as a horrible thing and you were a bad parent, it was actually a good thing, which it actually is. Only till recently, when people added personal feelings of far out there thinking people, have we screwed up our normal thought process of sharing bacteria is actually kind of good, because then all of us get immune to it, and then you have no a pandemic. So, you know, it's a oh, they do make us sick on purpose, Deplorable. You haven't heard of those mosquitoes? They added some shit in mosquitoes, and then they released the mosquitoes in Florida, actually. And they go bite you and deliver this medicine, whatever it is. They say it's good stuff, but whatever. They said COVID was good too, right? So yeah, they're already doing that. It's just that's terrifying, actually. And they announced it on TV. They were doing it. So Bill Gates thing they were doing, and they allowed it to happen. And I think last summer I heard that they had released the mosquitoes. I was like, OMG, it's on. Glad I'm not in Florida. Oh, they do that. Well, I didn't know that specific information. I also, I was an Army field medic. We're trained like, well, there's different levels of field medics. I was trained like a physician, but not with all the sterile procedures training. So it's not civilian physician. It's dirty physician, where you don't like, ooh, I got to take and make sure not to break the sterile field as I fucking grab the suture, you know, that bullshit. None of that stuff. It's just like, hey, give me a knife, or hey, let me pull my knife out of the pocket, cricothyroid tracheotomy, hey, pull my hose out of my pocket, you know, absolutely no sterile, anything sterile involved. It's all about life saving. So it's a different type of medicine as far as categorizing. And in the civilian world, the military, unless he's a field hospital qualified. Now, if they have field, if you're a field hospital medic, you have to follow all the procedures of the sterilization procedures properly, opening up the packets for surgical shit and all the sterile procedure stuff you have to worry about. But if you're a field medical specialist and you go higher up in that medical training, you don't have to worry about that crap. And I never worried about that crap, so I went that direction. So I got some pretty good medical training as well. But I did not know they specifically stuck stuff, like you said, they put canisters of viruses in the air vents at schools and at Walmart. That is specific information I did not know, but it has actually nothing to do with medical. That's more someone intentionally trying to get you sick. that's deranged thinking. I don't see why people would want to do that shit, but got some freaks out there, bro. Got some freaks out there. Good reason to homeschool the kids. Hopefully this in the future tax bills, they will allow parents, for which I am not, but I still pay taxes when I work for schools. And apparently there's like $16,000 allocated per child of taxpayer expenditure money for that child's education yearly. And there's talk that they're going to allow the parents to have that money, not physical cash, but be able to voucher that much in their own and decide on their own how to educate their child. They could use it to pay to go to a private school. They could homeschool and bring in special tutors, whatever the education, as long as you meet the education requirements set by the state, you'll have access. If the tax bill passes that they're going to bring up, allowing the parents to have access to their own voucher for the tax dollar for that child's education, for them to decide the child's education, whether it's private school, public school, which school, homeschooling, whatever. I think that'd be the best thing for education in the world for what we have right now. But yeah, that actually has nothing to do with someone maliciously, intentionally placing things in ventilation system. I'm not a lawyer either, but that sounds damn near criminal. I mean, it sounds maybe even RICO Act if you can hook that person up with a pharmaceutical company that sells the cure for whatever their ailment they're giving you, then it's obviously a RICO Act thing, and that's bad. But if it's allowed for them to do that deplorable Hulk, that's even worse, because that means the government's allowing people to get people sick for company profit margin, and that is traitorous, treasonous, unconstitutional, should be illegal. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty damn sure it is illegal, and someone needs to look into that. There you go. See, that's the attitude of most people that nowadays, and that's why it needs to happen, because who better understands how to educate the child? Someone in Washington, D.C., or the parent? My vote, not having kids but still paying the tax, my vote is let the parents have that money, because I'm pretty damn sure they can do a better job. A majority. There are some crazy, stupid parents out there that do some crazy, weird shit, mostly mental issue or drug issue. But most people are normal and would do the right thing and educate their child a lot better than someone in Washington has been educating them for the past 25 years, 30 years. Yeah. There's an issue there that I don't think anyone's talked about, deplorable, with teachers and unions and children, because teachers' unions represent the benefit of the teacher. Schools are built with taxpayer money to benefit the student. So they're at odds with each other. And if it comes down to it, I would say, unless your judges lean far, far, far to one side or another, if they read the law down the center, black and white, the way the law is written, that is a conflict of interest. Because the teachers the teachers union puts the benefits of the teachers above the benefits of the students when it comes to money. Bottom line, that's what unions do. And then unions usually screw their union members to make the people who are actually running the union the most benefit, because after a while, every organization becomes corrupt. Yeah. It all goes back. Imperialistic control of our system, bro. They look at England. Look at how many traditional family English, centuries born English there are, and look how many new English non-Christian, non-traditional, non-caring of tradition of English people there are. As a matter of fact, they're not English people. There are Middle Eastern belief system people that want to take their Middle Eastern beliefs and because they were born in England, say they're English and change the whole English culture to the Middle Eastern culture because they were born in England. And that's why you don't have anchor babies. And that's why you have to take oaths of allegiance to the country, because I guarantee you, you cannot go to Iran and preach democracy. That's illegal. But yet you can go to England and preach jihad, and it's legal. Nah, that's an unbalanced system. Anyhow, we've been going for about an hour. I'm going to cut this short because I know there's a lot of other people going live today. That's why I started early. You guys have a nice one. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you got some interesting information off the videos that I showed and little discussions we had. Having said that, prepare yourself to have a great week ahead. Be kind, helpful, and grateful. And God bless America and everyone here. Have a great one, people.